Today's date is June 15th, 2015. It's one day after Flag Day. Yesterday was Flag Day. You see that behind Frank and Audrey Titzer. I'd like Frank to introduce himself. Frank is a World War II veteran with experiences in Philippines and Japan, and we will hear his stories. And Audrey is a World War II, not a baby at World War II. She was a teenager in early 20s World War II, and we will listen to some of her experiences, how she perceived World War II from the American viewpoint. So go ahead, Frank, tell us your full name, birth date, and other things.
Francis George Titzer, born 5/20/23. Schooling, St. John's Catholic Church, or Catholic School, near Elberfeld, Indiana. From there, I went 7 years, and I graduated from 8th grade at Millersburg School, and then I went to Millersburg High School for 4 years and graduated there in 1942.
And Millersburg is no longer in existence. It's off our Highway 64. A lot of coal mines are around it. There was Elmer's was there, and Millersburg last high school class in 1965. You graduated about 1942?
1942.
Okay. And then you joined the service
In 1944.
And where did you swear in, and what service did you join?
Indianapolis, swore in at Harrison.
Fort Ben Harrison's a big
Ben-
base up there.
Fort Benjamin Harrison at Indianapolis. And it was transferred to Fort Walters, Texas, which is near Dallas and Fort Worth, and where I took my basic training.
How'd you get there, by train?
We got there by train.
Yeah. And what service were you in?
I was in the Army.
Okay. And then Audrey, can you tell us where you were born, what your maiden name was, what your date of birth was, and where you went to grade school and high school, and how you met this handsome man next to you?
My name is Audrey Jean Jeffrey, maiden name Titzer, and I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1928, October 13th, 1928, St. Luke's Hospital. And I was told that I was spanked a lot when I was little. I must have gotten it. Maybe my parents didn't know any better. I'm sure they didn't. But anyway, I think I grew up to be pretty good.
And you, how did you get to Evansville, Audrey? How did you meet?
After the war, Frank did not stay home. He had an offer of a job on the Grand Trunk and Western Railroad, and that was at 55th and Garfield in Chicago, I think. No,
Yes.
I lived at 6900 South, and he was renting a room 5500 South. However, when my cousins moved, they knew Frank at the Garfield address. They knew him from that address, from that rooming house. And when they moved and bought a house on 70-something Carpenter Street, they invited him to live with them. They rented him a room. So she told me to come over and meet her boarder, who was not Catholic, and he was rich. But that wasn't true. He wasn't rich, and he was Catholic. Chicago has a lot of Catholic boys, and I was Lutheran at the time. So I met him, but he happened to be in bed at that time. He had a recurrence of malaria that he brought home from the war. But my experience of being a child in wartime, I always felt secure because they were fighting over there, and there was no fighting and no air raid sirens going off, we had to practice a few times. We had to put our lights out at a certain time, and everyone, of course, did that. But during the war, we learned to love our flag and our country. We would do anything for our country. We learned patriotism as a child.
And were your parents scared in World War II, or did you have any siblings that went to World War II?
No, I didn't. My siblings, no. My siblings grew up and they were in the Korean War. Yes, I did have a brother, Dick. Was he in World War II? No. I'm the oldest in the family. So the ones under me, no. They were in the Korean War.
Okay.
You had uncles.
I had uncles. My dad's 3 brothers.
All of them survived.
Yes, and they all survived. However, they got cancer real bad, and the one, my uncle Damon, he was in Korea, and I think they used Agent Orange, and they claimed that his cancer came from that. I don't know.
Okay.
But there was cases of that later from the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
My brother spent a year in Vietnam. He was an Army career man, the brother next to me, 15 months my junior. And now he passed away, he was 65. And he had renal cancer. And they claimed that was from Agent Orange, which they used in the Vietnam War. But it's never been proven. I understand. I don't know for sure.
Okay, now, Frank, I want to go over your chronologically what you did in World War II after you left Fort Walton in Texas. Tell us where you went and stay in a chronological order. And put those papers, and we'll use those papers in a minute. Throw them on the side there.
After basic training, I came back to Evansville for a visit, a week or so. We transferred back to Fort Walters, and we were sent by railroad to San Francisco. And we got to San Francisco before we loaded the boat, or ship. Back then it was ship.
Was it a Liberty ship that you went to out of San Francisco on?
Yes, it was an invasion ship, a big one. We had a whole company on, Army company.
How many in a company?
Oh, I would say several hundred. I would say several hundred. But before we got on the ship, we all had to learn how to swim. And all my life I was around water and in water, played in water, and I never learned to swim. But I learned enough to survive if we had a boat sank or had a boat bombed or whatever. And then we landed in the Philippines.
Where did they teach you how to swim?
It was in San Francisco, some army.
In Letterman Army Base or
I have no
Oakland
idea
Army Base?
anymore.
Uh-huh.
It was a base prior to being shipped over to the Philippines.
In a swimming pool?
Yes,
in a
yes, swimming
okay.
pool.
Okay. All right, and then your trip to, then you got on that ship. How long did it take you? Did you go to Hawaii first, or?
No, we went. We were on in the ocean for 30 days, and we landed in Leyte, Philippines.
What year was that?
That was in 1944.
What date?
I have no idea. It was in the fall part of the year.
Had we already conquered Leyte?
We had, yes. We had. Our soldiers had conquered it. And we stayed there in the harbor for a few days. And they transferred us to a small island off of of the Philippines, main Philippine island, and we stayed there for several weeks, and we boarded another ship, and we sailed to Zambo, Ango, the Philippines, the largest island and supposed to be the largest island in the Philippines, but it doesn't show that on the map. But we were sent there, and we invaded that island, and that's where we had to fight the Japanese and destroy them, take over the island.
Tell us a little bit about the fighting there. Were they in foxholes or in caves, or what were they in?
We were not in foxholes. We were in above ground. That's the way we took cover, above ground.
Did you have tanks around you, Frank?
Pardon me?
Did you have tanks with you?
No, we had no tanks. We had our own selves.
Yes.
That's all we had. Our own guns, and we were in our own company. And we.
How long did it take you to conquer that island? A month?
Oh, I think it was several months. I don't remember exactly how many months it was, but it was quite a few months. In the last, then the 24th Division, I was in the 41st Division from Washington, Oregon, and then the 24th Division was in another part of on the island. They landed there after we did, and they were in another section fighting. And when we had conquered what the part we had, it was near where the 24th was, and our section moved up to the end of it, and we had, at the time, we never had baths in service, and last place we were stationed, we our I can't think.
Take your time. Don't worry about that. So
Our officer, leading officer, was took three of us, and we went to a river, and it was about maybe a quarter of a mile away from our camp, and we were in the river taking a bath, and someone opened fire on us and killed our officer, and there was three of us or four of us. One of them stayed, and well, there was three of us, I guess. One of them stayed with him, with his body, and the other two, we had to find our way back to the camp and report it, and then we all went back there to reclaim his body. And it happened to be, I think, the 24th Division. Someone in that group had opened fire on us, and we never knew for sure. But from there, we went back to our camp where we originally landed, and then we boarded a ship to Japan.
And then did you get sick there? Did you get malaria when you were in the Philippines?
I got malaria when I was in the Philippines, and a lot of others. I could tell you a few more stories, but I don't think I better.
And you didn't get schistosomiasis there from the water? That's another disease.
No, but we had very little food, and we had never had any fresh meat. So we rounded up an old muddy buffalo, and we killed him and washed him off and cut him up, and we had fresh meat.
Yeah.
That's what the fresh food we had. Otherwise, we ran into an onion field, and we pulled all the onions out and ate those to have something to eat.
Yes.
And we had very little food.
When you used your guns over there, what kind of gun did you have? You didn't have a pistol. You had a gun. Was it a semi-automatic or a rifle?
It was a rifle, 25 caliber rifle. I was first man in to lead the group. First man, lead man, and the general. I think it was general, or it was, an officer anyway. He and I led the group of soldiers. And first day out, why, us two got through, and the third person behind us was killed. And we were caught in between. The Japanese were down off of the roadway, and they were in the bivouac and opened fire on us. Then we had to send somebody back and get heavier guns to knock that place out.
That was in Philippines.
In the Philippines.
And how many bullets in your clip? About 20 in the clip or 8 in the clip?
Similar to that. I don't remember what, but it was. We had different size guns, S10s and things like that, in the group.
When your officer was killed in the water, and then you had somebody killed right next to you there, you had two right next to you killed. What did you feel like when they
I
got
feel
somebody?
like we didn't have any guns. We didn't have anything. We didn't have any protection.
Yes. You were lucky not to get killed yourself
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
2 times it could have been you very
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Did you were so scared then you couldn't even think probably.
No, you don't think. You just want to help.
You fall down on the ground and try to shoot the enemy and try to protect.
We didn't have anything to shoot with.
You had no guns that
No,
time.
we weren't had guns at that time because the war was over. Supposed to have been over, but it happened not to be.
As in still 1944
That
probably.
was 1944. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then tell us about how long the ship took to get from Philippines to Japan, and you went to Kobe, and how long did that take, and what month and what year was that about?
I don't remember. It was in 40. It was the time the first atomic bomb was dropped.
Okay, so that's
We were-
August 6th and August 8th or August 9th.
Yeah.
So it was right after that or before that?
Right after that. The atomic bomb happened while we were leaving Philippines for Japan to invade Japan. And the atomic bombs were dropped, and we had to stay in the harbor for a certain amount of days before they would leave us on land.
Because they didn't, I don't think they surrendered till the 21st of August, if I have that right, or even in September. So there was a period of time where they had not surrendered after those 2 bombs. Did
Hey.
you go on to Japanese land before they surrendered?
No, they surrendered. They
Uh-huh.
surrendered immediately after the bombs.
I see, yes. And did you get to Tokyo Bay when they signed the treaty, or were you there, or you didn't get to go up to
No,
that?
we weren't there. We were on land, but we weren't at the treaty.
In Kobe?
That was General MacArthur, I think, was there. Our wonderful general we had leading our group.
Did you ever see General MacArthur when you were over there?
Yes, I saw him, I think. He walked into Leyte after the war was over in the Philippines. He walked in from Australia. He came up and walked in like a real general, straight up, and he won the war.
Did you ever see any of the men that were in the Bataan March? Did you ever see that? And how close were you to the Bataan March? The march where MacArthur was able to escape and we lost 25,000 troops. Were you ever near that area?
We landed near that area, yes, when we first went over. But that was all over with then.
Did the Japanese scare you at that time? I mean, and or they started a little bit like Vietnamese, where they bivouacked you, or they could get in the bushes and you wouldn't know where they were?
Well, we didn't know where they were, but first time we landed on Mindanao, the Japanese had trenches dug where they were occupying. And the first night on shore, after we embarked from the ship, we stayed in one of those places, and during the night, as we were in the trench, there was the Japanese went through the trench and in front of us, and didn't bother us, but we knew it was Japanese, but we were lucky.
What do you think about our freedom in the United States after you have done all what you've done? And Audrey, you're now 92, or be 92.
I am 92.
92. You've seen the United States for a long period of time, and we have probably the most fabulous country on the planet Earth. Lots of freedoms, lots of privileges. What do you think is important for our next generations of preserving our freedom?
I'm afraid that they may not. I'm afraid they may not in an immediate future. I don't know how soon, but we will see bombing in the United States, and then people will be surprised. They'll be in a war that we or nobody can win, probably. I can't see the way we're going now. I can't see that we will survive wholly. We will be taken over by some other country, probably. And I feel sorry for the United States people living here. It would be quite a lot different than what it is now, I'm sure. But when? How many years? I hope never. But sometime in the future, we will suffer bombing here in the United States. And probably not too many years away.
What do you think about your generation and the generation now that we see? And that the World War II was probably the one time that our nation unified, the most recent time that it unified behind one goal. And a lot of that was fear of the Japanese and the Germans had taken our country over. So there's a lot of fear motivation, but we still did unify. Do you think there's a possibility of us unifying in the future if were stressed again?
I think we need better leadership. I can go into that deeper, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But I think we need somebody who will stand up. But the main thing now is to arm ourselves to where we're underarmed. We don't have the equipment to fight a war. We have modern equipment. We have atomic equipment, But this world is moving so fast that you can't keep up with arming all the people we need, and we won't be fighting hand to hand in the next war, and there will be a next war. When? I hope never, but it will.
Can you define patriotism, and your wife, maybe Audrey, both of you say what patriotism is, and do you think that's in our children today, and I think it's in our grandchildren today, of patriotism, and what that really means?
No, I don't think they are. It's not taught to them, I don't think. Well, it wasn't taught to us either, for that matter, but I was born slightly after World War I. But World War I was nothing compared to World War II. And I'm afraid that World War III will not be anything like World War II. Everything will be atomic and new fighting equipment. Something we have never seen, be out from outer space or wherever.
Okay. Frank's daughter Beth was asking the question of, he did bring some artifacts back from Japan. Tell us what you brought back and how you got it back, Frank.
I brought a saber, Japanese saber back, which my oldest son has, and it's. I would like for it to go into the museum, but I don't know if my son will relieve it. And I also brought a 25 caliber pistol back from Japan, Japanese pistol, for my father when I came home. And I brought these back on the ship returning from Tokyo to Seattle, Washington. I brought those back on the ship. I carried them home on the train, and I was discharged, and I still have. It's still in the family.
How about the tea set? Your daughter mentioned a tea set.
Well, it has tea set. Yes, probably had several. I don't know, but we have.
You might be able to find those. Aren't they in your mom's?
Yeah, they were
China
in
cabinet?
China cabinet, but I didn't get any much out of the China cabinet. It went into my brother's home. My
Okay. Stevens is going to ask some. Dylan Stevens is going to ask some questions. He's a USI student, senior, and he's read through the book with Frank, his memory book of World War II. So he's going to ask Frank and Audrey some questions there.
All right, and Frank, when we were going through that album, you were telling me when you were in the Philippines about a church you guys had built. And I was thinking it'd be interesting to get that story on here. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, we didn't have a chaplain or anything, and I can't remember the name of the town where our headquarters was. It was several miles away, 5 miles away from our headquarters, and they had a priest there who finally came to our quarters, and we set up a church, and our church was built under a coconut tree, and it was built out of coconut tree trunks. Our seats were, and that's what we had to sit on in church, and a homemade altar and whatever we had, and we had the priest come once a week, probably after the war was over in the Philippines, and he said mass and had prayers and had other worships for different denominations. who wanted to go and celebrate their
Victory.
their church services in the same place. We all, the whole camp, built the whatever. It was an outdoor church. There was no building or anything. It was just out in the open air.
Alright. Do you have any other like stories of similar like that of things you did that weren't like when you had like downtime outside of combat or outside of your actual duties that you'd want to share with us?
Well, I don't know if I should or not. They're kind of it's not laughable.
No.
But I had a very good friend from Chicago who was in my group, and back in my days, tobacco, what people used, came in a little material cotton
Like a
bag,
pouch, wasn't it?
pouch,
Yeah.
in a little cloth bag. So he had two of those cloth bags. Now this is not. I shouldn't even repeat it because it shouldn't be. But anyway, Japanese that were killed, they were thrown through ditches, and they were laying there, destroyed. And he would go back and forth, and most Japanese had gold teeth in their mouth, and he would take his gun and the bottom of the gun, he would knock the teeth out and put them in these little bags, and he had two of those bags full of gold teeth to take back home to Chicago when he left. So that was one
Sell the
one
gold.
thing.
Sell the gold.
I don't know if he sold it or not.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I never saw the
That's
man
what
again.
they could do with it.
And it was souvenirs. It was called souvenirs then. But there was some other story I don't want to go into.
Alright.
Anything else you think?
I think that's all I got.
Okay. Push that button there, yeah.
And then there's Lady, which is where he originally landed and when they got to the Philippines. And then from Lady they went to Zamboanga, which is where they would spend most of the island down here, which is where they would spend most of their time and did most of their fighting and things here. And these are pictures from the VJ Day Parade and on Zamboanga in the Philippines.
So it'd be 1945, and that's a celebration of that.
And these are pictures from the VJ Day celebration at Zamboanga in the Philippines.
Several photographs are from 1945 of Hiroshima. This is photographs of Hiroshima in 1945 that Frank was able to get. You look at the destruction of the buildings there in Hiroshima. Here's some other buildings here as well. Just total destruction of that city. You see the massive destruction of one atom bomb. Hiroshima about the size of Evansville, over 100,000 people, but you look at the massive destruction. These are pictures from 1945 after the destruction of that whole city. That was Fat Boy, the first bomb that dropped. That was August 6, 1945. It ended the war. Then the other bomb was dropped at Nagasaki. Japanese did give up. We'd lost over in the Philippines 24,000 men and women, and in Iwo Jima 24,000, about 24,000 in Okinawa. we would have probably lost 500,000 in World War II in Japan. Frank would probably not even be here if we would have had to invade Japan. So we're lucky that the atom bomb occurred, but it causes a lot of other major things that Frank was talking about, that we could have other problems in the future because of atomic energy. If it gets in the wrong hands at any time, it may be a big problem for the whole planet Earth. Thank you for your time.